The Bible warns that one man will come, one person will come. That person will leave his mark on earth. You won't know who he is, you won't recognize him at all. So you won't know who that person is, but you'll know by his tools, you'll know by his dedication, you'll know by the books that unfold with evidence. They will be old men of renowned wisdom and knowledge. They'll be chosen through divine interventions. You know, you hear about people seeing the light, and I do mean crossing over and seeing the light and sticking their head through the light at the end of the tunnel, the crossover. No one in the world is chosen unless they went through a massive divine intervention with an unexplained aerial phenomenon, with a UAP, unexplained aerial phenomenon. A UAP is known as an orb of light. It's known as a min light in the outback of Australia. In the Bible, it went to 3 kings, to Moses, to Elijah. The orbs of light was hanging around Enoch for 365 years, and they came to Christ. The light, the orb of light. The UAP lights and orbs of lights has been coming to Earth since 1940 amongst the whole world. So they've been coming here, as you can hear by UAP disclosures in Pentagon. We have orbs of light, stars within the stars, and different types of back engineering crafts. We have min lights, we have tic-tac UFOs that disappear and reappear right in front of our eyes. They're just beginning to learn about parallel worlds and different dimensions. Well, the book of Enoch explains all this. But when it's removed in the Bible, then you don't know much about these parallels, dimensional beings, and different parallel worlds and dimensions. Because people become more literal and more mental and consistently revise the Bible. Westerners are hybrid civilization that always mutate, always use artificial intelligence and image mutation. There are 8 species for 300,000 years are all hybrids. But there's one species that's been here for 2 million years in 6 Adam and Eve stories. And they've maintained innocence with a double Y, double X chromosome for 2 million years. The Australian Aboriginals is the original. 10 feet tall, 500 years old. Don't follow the Noah's drunken family and Nimrod, the milestone of everything that took away your universal language, put you in nations with confusion, frustrations, and religious political cults. And that's who you follow in your Bibles, and that's why the Bibles were molded by the Rockefellers. And you were designed into the consciousness by the Rockefellers in 1640, engineered into the WF conscious singularity. Now every American lives in consciousness, and they nominate that themselves, which is a mental event, a mental process, an illusion, imagination, if you Google and look it up. Now the whole world's trapped inside their mind, in a personality with mentality, and have amnesia and trapped in a reincarnation trap, and keep coming back like fools. And they don't even know they have amnesia, and they don't believe it neither, but with amnesia they don't know. They can only use 10 to 15% of their brain in every Westerner with defective genes, 600 to 6,000 in every single Western European person in the world. 98.7% is anti-clockwise, and voltage reliability in their DNA and their aura can only appear 3 to 4 hours a night. They live in their mind that much. Okay, some people can mastermind use 100% of their brain, and they have supernatural power, like mental telepathy, ESP, remote viewing, telekinesis, levitation, spoon mini clock mining, folding space and time with deja vu, to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. They can master their mind and use 100% of their brain. But the top scholars with IQ in the whole Western civilization can only use 15 to 16% of the brain. And there's a vast difference between these two species. You have self-proclaimed prophets on social media platforms, especially Americans worldwide. All think they're chosen with artificial intelligence and a voice mind that tells them to do that. but they have not had any divine interventions with any UAPs and taken to the porthole to the light in the tunnel and crossed over. They're trapped in personality with amnesia, in a massive reincarnation trap with their own delusions, and live in denial. Live in denial worldwide, declared 2003. The Bible warns you about post-millennium stage, and the whole world would be deceived and crazy. That was declared in 1999. The last human being born on Earth was born in the outback of Australia in 1960 that can use all their genetic memory with the genetic process and all their ancestral tools. They can levitate a 1-ton stone. Nature bends down and talks to them. They create 10 times more fruit with 10 times more nutritious value because they bear the right fruit. Their aura's clockwise. 500 years old, 10 feet tall. We have Shula masterminds, 257 with a birth certificate. The rest of the world follows Noah and the drunken family that took away their universal language. Christ warned about this. Enoch wrote 100 books and gave it to Methuselah, his son, to warn you about Noah and his family, the naked drunks. That's why the Bible says they were naked drunks. And most people still believe, right, how much they're deceived into following the Noahs and the family, the white civilization, the tribe of Dan, the Nordic Anunnakis, Denmark, the Illuminatis. That's what they are, the UN, and they control your whole biological system with atheism anti-clockwise. The UN controls the whole world, right? With NATO, they control the whole world. And they're possessed by an outside influence with an alien invasion, the whole world is. Because that's where they come from their own forefathers' footsteps. And the great gods have returned all over the world. Okay, all over the world. And natural selection's been taking place since 1940. So it's the old men of renown, wisdom and knowledge, right, in their primal state, that's been dedicating their whole life and put their mark on earth. Now New Age millenniums are the credit thieves across the world. Liars, content thieves and credit thieves. They're all anti-clockwise and got no spirituality whatsoever. They've been in post-human stage since 1960 and a species in denial declared in 2003. The whole world lives in denial. They're just actors, mouthpieces, and all they care about is their own opinions and their own perceptions worldwide. And they're trapped in all their little narratives. And the whole world's controlled by stress, fear and anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion and paranoia, and live in a comfort zone. They've never stuck their head through the light in the tunnel, as Plato describes in 15 books. And Jeremy McGivers describes in the book Freedom, from the World Transformation Movement, with 16,000 top scholars in the world, the Holy Grail of life. No one's living on that page. They're living on their own page. Self-centered creatures worldwide, especially Americans. Now Americans are born, 77% of their children are born with parasites and serious chronic diseases because they're a complete species in denial with hereditary genes, and they carry 600 to 6,000 hereditary defective genes in their mentality. They're the worst civilization in the world, with the worst mental disorders and take the most drugs, and self-envy, self-pride, so into themselves. Okay? They capitalize on their own personality, and that's all they care about, their opinions. All their books, smart education, movies are propaganda, declared worldwide. Every single thing that comes from every one of these species is hard propaganda, because they live on a placebo effect anti-clockwise that's been engineered. They can't think outside the mind instinctively with their natural process and their natural selection life with their natural order. They can't use their natural organic motor skills because it's mental telepathy, ESP, remote viewing, telekinesis, levitation, split clock winding, following space and time with deja vu, and to do every single thing that Christ can to be a apostle in that bloodline. And they didn't follow that bloodline, they followed the dragon seed. That's why they're trapped in the 23rd chromosome in 98.7% anti-clockwise. Their father's footsteps they've been following throughout human society from generation to generation, right, to continue to twist the fabric of truth to suit themselves in their own little comfort zone on a couch potato in front of a screen all day. And that's Westerners for you. They live on a screen 8 hours a day, 98%. All they talk about is themselves and their own opinions and getting attention with fake tools, fake friends and fake love because they're a fake human civilization. They can't even keep their own families and friends together in real life at home, right? The Extinction Rebellion was 335 million people that started back in the 90s and shut the whole world down on the 27th of September 2019. 4,500 cities were shut down worldwide in 150 countries. And from that moment on, when the zombie apocalypse came across the planet, everybody in the screen divided with their own families and friends at home. And now they steal credit with content thieves from 1920 onwards. From 2020 onwards. All these people that think they're awake now in New Age, right? Artificial human beings worldwide that think they're prophets, self-proclaimed prophets, are all the credit thieves. Because they were not involved in the 335 million people that went against the Extinction Rebellion, that went against the sixth mass extinction, stripped from the sixth sense for the sixth time. Book Revelation 27. Your 27 biofields. You have 32 senses, you live in 5 sense mentality. You're trapped in the mind with your body cells going corruption, corrosion during the daytime, and every single one of you die prematurely from stress-related diseases because you're riddled with stress and riddled with denial in a delusional state. That's been declared worldwide since 1999. You are so delusional out there in your own truth, trapped in your own little mind, that you don't even know what's going on. And you do it to yourself because you give consent for the voice of mind to control you, ultimately designed from these things declared worldwide. You only believe in your own truth and come to your own conclusion with reasoning, and to be competitive creatures into yourself. You cannot think instinctively outside the mind with your natural process and your natural selection of life, because there's nothing natural about you, since you make so many unnatural decisions on a daily basis through your mind. Your mind controls you now and your brain don't work. You can only use 7 to 10% of your brain over 99%. Highest IQ can only use 15%. So you can't use your brain washed in brain fog. You can see that in the movie Limitless with a drug. A drug can get you out of it, but none of your grammar can, nor can your religious, political behavior or any cult, New Age cults. Everyone's living in a massive delusional state, in denial, in a comfort zone. Only speak about their own truth, but they can't handle the real truth. They can't face the real truth. They're not living in the real truth. They have amnesia, trapped in a reincarnation trap, and they can't wake up from amnesia with the tools that they select every day. They think it's going to be handed in a lap with notifications. But that's not how shit works. The whole Western civilization thinks they're going to the church and they're going to be saved. They think they're going to a social media platform and speak shit all day and they're going to be saved. With voices inside their mind that tells them to do that, that are only personalities. That would tell them whatever they want to believe in. Like Christ consciousness, that sounds heavenly, doesn't even exist. It's an illusion, an imagination running wild. And everyone lives in an illusion of imagination inside their mind and lie about it in complete denial. They can't even function in real life with their natural process, their natural abilities. They can only use up to 15% of their brain and live in denial about it. So they suffer mental disorders and defects non-stop in a massive global delusional state with stress, fear, anxiety, and the biggest pandemic with a placebo effect anti-clockwise, sending animals around circles all over the earth, birds around in circles in the oceans in 17 locations, fish going around circles, and birds falling out of the sky in over 850 locations, animals dropping dead everywhere. Bacteria collapse between 50 and 90% in every single Westerner because they're anti-clockwise in biology, in their DNA. DNA is the book of life, which proves every single human being on earth listens to their voice in the mind, and he said, she said, the documents from species of their own kind, in denial. They only follow their own species, and now it's declared that every book smart education for every mental disorder going is an illusion, an opinion. So every one of their prana drugs and every conclusion they come to with mental disorders, gene defects, is an opinion, but it's reverse psychology. It comes down to aura in your body cells anti-clockwise because you're possessed by an outside influence and everyone lies about it. Depends on how much consent you give. Most people are controlled by it and give complete consent. Okay? Other people suffer mental disorders and defects, right, from stress and anxiety because they have demons in their mind from an outside influence that tries to control them. And every human being on earth lives in denial about it because they're anti-clockwise. And when they're anti-clockwise and they live in their mind and come to every conclusion set up with grammar by the Rockefellers with Prama and the whole system, they only believe in the system and the Prama and the identification that's programmed into their mind. So they select all those things themselves and believe in it. Like people with ADHD, psychosis, schizophrenia, bipolar, literally believe what they're told. It's all demons in the mind, the whole lot. Nefarious. voices inside their mind that's only personalities, and will tell them whatever they want to believe in a comfort zone, but they'll do as they're told. They do as they're told. They can make 16% of people killed in 1920, 48% in 1945, 68% in 68, 100% today. Vaccination mandates, 98.7% takes the vaccination when it's mandated. 95% were not going to take it until it was mandated. So they do what they're told. We done a placebo test in 2009 and they all do what they're told. We did a massive placebo test and it's placebo that controls them. We took every medication in the world for every mental disorder and defect, and we gave him a medication with a placebo effect and told him it's the same medication, 50-50. 50 took the real medication, 50 took a placebo medication. They had exactly the same outcome, which means every single thing is a big fat lie that you believe in. Because the placebo effect is anti-clockwise, and your placebo effect clockwise in the most positive fields with your biosensors and your natural process can repair anything, can repair every single thing going on in your DNA. So you never suffer the consequence ever again. No more stress, fear, and anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion, paranoia. But you refuse to cross over. You refuse to go through the rebirth of back in your innocent, back in your primal state. You'd rather live in your vessel in your mind with amnesia and a massive global delusion state. And 99% of people will never wake up. The scholars are telling you at the top level, the ones that master their mind, the elderly that's been chosen, right, and write their books that unfold with evidence and left their mark on earth to save humanity, but humanity don't listen. The Extinction Rebellion caused the book Freedom by Jimmy Givers and 16,000 top scholars on the same page. When we hacked the hub and identified that you're under mind control in 1997, that's why Julian Assange got locked up. That's why Edward Snowden took off to Russia. And that's why I went to jail for 10 years and you live in brain-locked denial where we dedicated our life and went to prison and got locked up for exposing what's going on. And you live in denial about it. And then you're a credit thief worldwide and you listen to robots and zombies that's not doing nothing for society but living in a massive delusional state in their own truth, with their own opinions, and couldn't care less about what the truth is because they live in denial, the whole lot. And you're dumb enough to merely resonate with a bunch of species that are your kind. But I can guarantee you're not in the Christ image. You cannot do what Christ can and more in your DNA with every apostle. Divine power to command nature, not one of you can. You're that stupid, you'd rather follow a robot and just sit down and mesmerize yourself with word grammar. And he said, she said, and merely resonate. Because you got no codependent and tuned to power. Zero. You think you're a hero and you're a zero. So is every platform you follow. They're nothing but liars, false prophets and deceivers worldwide. You like following actors because you like being an actor yourself. And that's what you become, an actor for someone else. You can only use 10% of your brain, maybe 15 with IQ. So you act for someone else. A messenger controls his own vessel from the outside in, like you see in the movie Matrix documentary or the movie Limitless. When you come out of your shell and master your mind is 100% of your brain. Only 1.3% lives in their primordial state, not inside their mind, not inside a human experience, not inside a personality with mentality, and think they're special like a Hollywood American actor. There's not one mastermind in America recorded with the biggest DNA study done. Not one. There's only mastermind Shing and Winoff in Europe. They're the only two registered. The rest are in Australia, in the biggest think tank evidence in the world, in the Star Inquiry. I'm the gatekeeper number one with God-like power and every study done for 34 years in DNA, and no one believes in me. You know nothing about me, you idiot. You come to your conclusion with reasoning in 5 seconds flat because the voice of mind will control you to make sure you never cross over. And it will tell you whatever you want to believe in some delusional state, so you'll never cross over. That's how powerful the influence is on your reality with a delusional behavior. Will tell you whatever you want to believe in a comfort zone. It's that powerful. It controls 98.7% of the population who lives in denial. Can you do what Christ can and more? No, you can't. Can your pastor, your preacher, New Age? Can they do what Christ can and more? No, they can't. So they're all full of BS worldwide, aren't they? They didn't follow those footsteps. They didn't go through the rebirth. They didn't go through the crossover. Yet you'll find on social media platform, right, a couple of 100,000 self-proclaimed prophets that thinks they're one of the 144,000 in a massive delusional state to get attention, to distract you, because they listen to the voice of the mind and they do exactly what they're told, to distract every human being on earth from the crossover and the rebirth. And that's what every American does, distract you from the crossover and the resurrection of the rebirth. And therefore, you listen to them. The Americans are the most possessed society in the world, and every Westerner possessed by an outside influence declared worldwide, with voice of mind ultimately designed from extinction. DNA doesn't lie. DNA is the book of life. We know that the footsteps they're following their 23rd seed. There's no Western's got a 24th seed. It's in dormancy. You can see inside the study research. They have 32 sensible dimensional thinking, remote viewing, deja vu to predict the future, and they can't use none of it. They just talk grammar and all talk no action and read a document, he said, she said, and think they know everything about life, right? And everything about their sacred secretion, their third eye, the pineal gland, the sixth sense. To see the vision that tells you 1,000 words are going to lie to you with dimensional thinking, and they don't. They just talk shit all day. Gut feeling, survival mode, the chakra, the very preservation mode for life, with 130 nucleosome molecules, genetic repair kit with genetic memory, and ancestry genetic tools. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in any of the species. When I get a bad gut feeling, I can feel them stay in a courtroom 30 miles away, putting pen to paper with my name on it, with direction microphones, on surveillance. They discover that. So your aura doesn't work in Jacob's ladder, the Neuralink, the tree of life, to feel the truth with a codependent atmosphere and relationship, right? Where you can see the vision with remote viewing and deja vu to prevent what's going to happen. You haven't got those tools at all. Nor does any person that you follow. But that's what you got faith in. You got faith in robots with grammar and artificial intelligence and living mutation and designed into a human conditioning with soft, weak spineless cows, love and compassion with chocolates and roses, light power, energy, vibrations and frequencies, because every human being is delusional. They got no divine power to command nature at all. They haven't had the divine intervention with UAPs at all. They haven't been selected at all. They haven't done nothing for society and left their mark on earth so people know who they are. People who were selected are down to earth, with honesty the best policy, and create a reputation by word of mouth, not on a screen, not an actor. I promise you that, not IQ people that are program engineered with their grammar. They're people that left their mark on earth. They're people that have left their mark on earth, okay, with a history that speaks for itself. Where people on a screen depend on their grammar to get attention, not their history, not their mark on earth they left, that speaks for itself. They can't educate you, right, and read documents. They can't read nothing. They just get to an opinion and they know nothing about what they talk about. Absolutely zero. There was 15,500 documents released in 99 when you're told you're crazy. Those documents tells you how crazy you really are in every study DNA's done. 98% of every human being on earth, 98.7%, is in voltage reliability anti-clockwise, right, with 607,000 defective genes. That means they're deformed, and now 77% of their children is born with chronic diseases completely deformed because they're in that much denial. Blood clots, myocarditis, mental disorders, gene defects, Hawaiian syndromes, everyone losing their magnetic pulse, escalating since 1960 from 2%, became a global concern in 1999 at 38%. Now it's 98.7%, and everyone thinks it just started in 2020 with the vaccination because they live in the now moment and they have no memory as they reject every single thing they know and don't believe in nothing they're told, right? With more than 130 declarations made since 1999. Every declaration made, they live in denial about. Every single thing they were told since 1960, they live in complete denial about. That's how brain dead every American and Westerner is. They all think it's coming and it's already happened. Every single bit of crap that comes to their mouth was executed by 220, right? By the Rockefellers to invert their placebo effect with a fate document in 1920 with 5 infliction points to be executed by 220, and we went in the 7-year lane. 220 to 227, the new climbing clock, the 7-year lane. That's how mental every single one of these Westerns are, and how anti-clockwise they are, and can't think forward. Can't think forward at all. And lost all their genetic memory with all their genetic tools. Artificial human beings in post-human states, in a zombie apocalypse, in a body-snatching virus declared worldwide. On every peer report in Avian syndromes, a body-snatching virus, a zombie apocalypse. They're just actors and robots, as you know, we told you in 99, and they made the documentary Matrix with IQ robots. The world was trapped inside their mind and did not cross over. That was 1999. The Matrix documentary was 1999. Now everyone thinks they know the Matrix since 2020. Brain dead stupid. Natural selection took place in 2012. The final one. The final natural selection took place in the 212 phenomenon with the Mayan calendar, with their ancestry genetic memory, with the primordial beings that took over people's vessels, took over their personality and their mentality. Most of them went through a death experience, a strange phenomenon, and a massive transformation for 3.5 years in DNA. With DNA studies done, they went through a massive transformation in their DNA between 2012 and 2016 in the biggest study done. Those people naturally selected all went through a massive transformation, right, as they got possessed by an outside influence on their reality. And that possession was a primordial being, ancestral primordial being, taking over the vessels. And then that personality died, and that mentality died. And they went for a massive transformation, right, into a primordial being, an ancestral primordial being that came back through natural selection and took over the human vessel after they left their mark on earth and designed that way. And they didn't even know until that moment that they were chosen from the day they were born, but they were following an influence throughout their life with amnesia, and then woken up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap and the personality where the mentality died in 2012. And most people lie about this because they're not qualified to judge. They were not chosen and crossed over and given the godlike power with all their supernatural power back, right? And all their genetic processes with DNA and right self-preservation made for life in the biggest study ever done. They were not selected because they are artificial human beings worldwide living in denial, in delusional states with voices inside their mind that tells them to do that, to distract the truth, because they're jealous, spiteful cowards, and they're completely controlled by stress, fear, and anxiety in a massive global pandemic. And they lie about it. Every human being does what they're told and lie with their body cells in corruption, collusion during the daytime and can only be at nighttime. They're living in a massive global delusional state and can only use 7 to 15% of their brain. They can't use 27 biofields, and that's the divine power to command nature. They don't even work. There's only one way to cross over and to dedicate, to restore your biological fields, to restore your DNA, to cross over back in your primal state through a 40-day fasting. The book Freedom by Jim McGibbs held the Holy Grail of life, and we're not breathing the Holy Breath of life that recreates the sacred secretion and restores your oxygen, because you're dormant and you're stupid and you don't even know it. You're dormant, lazy, and stupid and controlled by stress, fear, and anxiety, sitting on the couch all day in front of a screen and can't function in real life. You're disconnected from life, nature, and things in harmony, and from natural selection. You're totally disconnected from natural selection and your natural order in life. You're connected to materialistic things and radio waves on the screen all day in a 5-sense world with a book smart education into your mind. And 99% of people are in denial about it. And as declared by Jeremy Givers and the top scholars in the world that can master their mind in the elect, we know for a fact, and Winoff sets the same status mastermind Xing in Europe, most people won't make it because they're trapped into themselves, self-centered, trapped into themselves, don't care, can't feel the truth. Their aura's gone, only works 1 to 5%, ours works 99%. Totally different aspect, totally different way of thinking outside the mind. Like a vortex of information you see in the movie Limits, a universal language with 7-fold wisdom and knowledge you do not have. And you do not depend on because you don't have faith in it. You have faith in a document, an artificial intelligence by your grammar, and your atheism anti-clockwise more than you have faith in the truth by thinking outside the mind and seeing the picture that tells you 1,000 words are going to lie to you with dimensional thinking that you have no faith in. You only have faith in this world and being programmed into your mind, into your personality with mentality. That's why the whole world is living in a delusional state, right? Just actors on a screen, and you hallucinate with actors because now you're artificial and mentally resonate with the consciousness, which is only a mental event, a mental process, and illusion imagination. So you mentally resonate because you're mental species worldwide. Couldn't care less. Just do what you're told, go to work, pay the bills, and you have an inflection point and do exactly what you're told like everybody else does. And you lie to yourself. You support the system every day and you depend on the system every day of your life. You can't stand your own 2 feet in your own property. You will not get off the mountains like the Bible tells you. Get away from Westerners. Leave the world behind. You won't do it because you're controlled beyond the point of return. We know that. And you follow the same type of species that are controlled like this without realizing it. Take a look at their home front and what they do in real life. When they get off a screen, they're just an actor on a screen. What do you think they're like at home? Huh? Did they write the books that unfold with evidence perfectly? Did they? Did they supply the book to prove they can predict the future? Have you done the study with these people? Have you done the study with any of the people you follow? Have you seen what they've done and what mark on earth they've really done? Were they chosen? Did they have a UAP moment? Did they leave their mark on earth like no other? You follow millenniums and youth. That's just good mouthpieces, not full of fire. Wouldn't stand against the system. They live on radio waves and screens. And they're damn good, right, at getting your attention. But they're not chosen. None of them are, not one. God will never choose anyone in millennium age that lives in their mind. Why would he? When they live in consciousness in their mental event and not in spirituality and can't do what Christ can anymore, haven't got remote viewing, haven't got deja vu, haven't got their natural process. Why would God trust these species? Are you that dumb? Yeah, you actually are. Because your great gods control you that took away your power. Take a good look at every species in the world now. Did your gods and your truth and your mind give you the power to command nature to do what Christ can and more? Can you do what Christ can and more? No. Can you use 100% of your brain? No. Can you use all your biofields, all 32 cents of dimensional thinking? No. Can you use your 24th chromosome with supernatural power, superhuman abilities? No. So, where's your head at? Who controls your vessel? Who did you give consent to? If you can't use your natural process and your natural selection of a natural order, coded in your own DNA with genetic memory and genetic tools with the ancestral tools, then what's going on in your mind? Since you all think you know everything about life and you follow robots and artificial human beings that are actors worldwide who doesn't know nothing about this, the crossover and the rebirth and their natural power. If your principality is in the right place, you have the God-given power to command nature. The Bible tells you that. If you go back to your child and you're innocent and follow the right footsteps, you can do what I can and more. Christ tells you that. But you can't. So you're not following those footsteps, and that's the obvious. That's how brained you are. He was a street warrior, street teacher, stood against every system that you believe in the most. Stood against every system and every biblical religion the most. Never had a Bible in his hand, you morons. No person ever chosen ever held a Bible in their hand. Book smart education. They know everything for a universal language. They don't need books. They don't read books. They have the vision that tells them 1,000 words like the Australian Aborigines have had for 2 million years. They don't read books. And they're 10 times more smarter than you. They can levitate a 1-ton stone. You can't levitate a thimble. They can levitate a 1-ton stone, 500 years old, 10 feet tall, not trapped in a reincarnation trap, and use a genetic memory without brain deformity, without gene defect. It was only known as family that took away the universal language, and you follow them. Christ warned you about that, but they removed that in the Bible as well, because they knew exactly what they were doing, to get you to follow Nimrod and the Babylonian beast, by the UN and NATO, by the Rockefellers, who set you up with the secret covenant, and every single thing you consume is what they set you up with. Every single thing in your systems and your education system is set up by the Rockefellers. And he wrote your Bible as well. Look at the Geneva Bible, 1519 Bible, and compare that with the 1640 Bible by the Rockefellers. You see how much deception you're living in. Take the oldest Bibles in the world, right, that Stephen Quayle has, and Gary Stearman, Prophecy Watchers, and we have a copy as well. The oldest Bibles is burned down for 1,300 years. You ever seen that Bible, read it? Then you haven't got a clue what you're talking about. You're all in a massive global delusional state set up by the Rockefellers and by the Anunnakis, the Nordic father of the nation, the tribe of Dan, Noah and his family. And that's who you follow the most in the Bible as well, and that's who you follow through the whole system. Nimrod, the milestone, and it's every single thing you've gone into with Babylon. And you live in denial about it, with your radio waves and principality and the power that controls you, right? You were born about modern technology, modern gadgets with images, and that's what you live off and feed off. And give consent every day with the voice mind that controls you, under mind control. If you're not under mind control, and you can control your own mind, then you'll be able to do what I can do and more than what Christ can do. Because I'm designed for that. I can do everything Christ can with that genetic memory. I have my ancestral genetic code and my genetic memory, right, recorded, okay, by the biggest think tank in the world and the biggest DNA study ever done. I'm number one, primordial being number one, in the biggest study with 5,000 people selected like this. And involved in that study by the biggest think tank and the biggest biologists in the whole world, we know the whole world's nefarious and goes against us. They have done their whole life. God doesn't select the species that you think and that you follow. He doesn't trust any Westerner, only a handful. And they're not the people you think. They're far from it. They're not people sitting on the screen like actors and mouthpieces and talk about their opinions all day. How dumb are you? That's only been happening the last 40 years. You think God works with people that are actors on the screen? That's how stupid you all are. You sit on the screen all day and follow false prophets and people, right, that keeps you distracted from the truth. And keeps you trapped in so much stress, fear, and anxiety and negative fears that you live in it all day. 95 to 99% of the time, you live in 5 cents in negative fears. And you don't even believe in it. You live in a delusion and a comfort zone. You're controlled by an outside influence with stress, fear, and drug pandemics worldwide. And you live in denial at the same time. Because you're gutless, you're weak, and you're a godly small creature like the days of Noah, like the days of Lot. And you're a liar. Not one of your species has had a natural selection with the UAP, unexplained era phenomenon, with a divine intervention, and then possessed by an outside influence and taken over by a primordial being, an ancestral primordial being, taking over their vessel, so their personality died. No one's crossed over for the rebirth. A rebirth, your personality always dies, and you go back into primordial state through the light at the end of the tunnel. And you go through the light, everyone knows that. And then you control your vessel from the outside in. And then you have to get away from every other Westerner. When people cross over in a church, they have to get away from every single person in the church. It's a known fact. They've got to get off the grid. They cannot function with your Western society when they go through the rebirth. Never could. They've got to get off the grid. Like Shilla Mastermind monks and Buddhists, like the indigenous people, like people in us in the streets that cannot stand the Western actors and robots sitting on a screen all day trying to make a name for themselves, like our parents did back in the 70s, getting polarized in the screens when we were living on the streets. And we had street wisdom and knowledge, and they had none. Now the whole world's got none. Just do what they're told, go to work, and sit on the screen all day watching too many movies and too many actors and merely resonate the same way. Because they're robots. They're transhumans in post-human state since 1960 and live in brain-locked denial with their grammar and self-centered behavior about themselves and their opinions. And they're distracting the natural selection, the natural order completely. That's why the whole world's going to fail, because they're all controlled by Baal, with boldness, reliability, anti-clockwise, and live in denial about it. And it's not a joke. It's genuine. It's down to earth, and it's real. It's the only real truth they can't face. They cannot cross over because they live in denial, in a massive global delusion state. The whole world is in denial. Only a handful of people is going through the book Freedom by Jeremy Gibbons, the Holy Grail of Life, and we're not breathing the Holy Breath of Life to restore their biofields and crossing over for a 40-day fast. But most people, it's going to take decades. 2/27 to 27 September on the New York Climate Clock 7-year countdown is the inflection point of no return. And that's it. That's the end date. You don't cross over by that day. You go to 6 mass extinction, stripping the 6th sense for the 6th time. The last time we saw all this with the Vine syndrome and animals going around circles over the earth and birds falling in the sky was the days of Noah. And if there's not enough evidence for you, then that's bad luck. Then that's bad luck because you're that mentally insane. You're that crazy in your own truth. You haven't got a care factor except for yourself. You can't even keep your family and friends together. You got no codependent relationships. I can feel my wife from 3,000 miles away when she's sick. I'll ring her straight up in the morning and say, hey, what's wrong? I can feel it. You can't feel shit. You live in your mind and come to your own conclusion with a voice of mind. You can't feel shit. Your aura's gone. You can't feel with remote viewing and deja vu. You can't feel nothing. The third eye. Bruce Lee can mastermind by 24, fight 12 people back karate blindfolded, and block will be punched 7 times faster than can think. So he's got deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen blindfolded. Blindfolded. Kids were perfect from 0 to 7 or clockwise and can mastermind a computer game between 3 and 7. Then they go to school and become anti-clockwise. Then they come out like robots and tell their parents they're dinosaurs and then lie to their kids, right, with the boogeyman and the monster on the bed and tell them they're dreaming because they're possessed by it. They've been mentally institutionalized. So they're not like Bruce Lee. Our child, right, is perfect from 0 to 7. Go look at YouTube and put this in search engine. Third-eyed children superhuman. You'll see if we can take them from your scumbags and your filthy low-life reptilians, right, your scum lies all over the world. These kids at 8 years old can read, draw and write blindfolded. And by the time they're 12, they can predict the car coming around the corner and what colour it is with deja vu. So they can prevent what's going to happen and not be stabbed in the back. And at 12 years old, they can predict this ring on the phone what they're wearing in the other room with remote viewing. So they have the 6th sense with their spirituality, and you can't do that. And these kids on YouTube, you can see. You can see what you do to your children. You push them into school, so their body's saying corruption, illusion, collusion, and they lose their 6th sense by the time they're 12. And they can't do things like this because they've become mentally institutionalized like you are. And there's the evidence right in front of your face, and you still don't care. You still live in a delusional state. You still don't want to cross over. We can show you your natural abilities with spiritual power, and no matter how much we show you, you just go back to scrolling on, okay, beyond the point of return. And it's right there in front of your face that a child's perfect from 0 to 7, and if we maintains perfect with the right tools, he's got deja vu and remote viewing by the time he's 12 with his 6th sense. And your 6th sense is going to 6 mass extinction, stripping the 6th sense for the 6th time. And you can't use it. You can't use your spirituality. And it's right there in front of your face. And no matter how many times I tell you, you still do nothing about it because you're brain dead and beyond the point of turn. You're not in the Christ image, and we can show you a child can be in the Christ image with the right tools and the God-given gift that God gave him from birth. If they're not going to school to be mentally seduced by the boogeyman that controls the whole world. That's how much people lie in denial. Not one species on social media platform, they only live in illusion and imagination in their mind, but they cannot do what these children can do. This is the new era that's going a new timeline. Okay, to live to be 1,000 years old, the tree of life in their natural process with their natural selection. That's these kids. Which means every one of you that doesn't cross over will go into the abyss in a 6 mass extinction, stripping the 6th sense for the 6th time, and mental disorder and defects are going through the roof with stress-related problems and taking drugs because people can't cope, living in a delusional state. Well, the evidence is right there with these kids, that you're not spirituality, that you're only mentality. What are you going to do about it? You want a divine intervention to cross over? You better wake up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap.